get straight to it with the prediction in the main event. UFC lists Israel Adesanya as a 230 favorite over 185 underdog Jan Blachowicz. How do you see this fight unfolding?
Yeah, it's an interesting fight because when you think about it, the undefeated middleweight champion is moving up to take on the light heavyweight champion. And a lot of fans don't know a lot about Blachowicz. But what you got to know is this guy's got 8 wins by knockout, 9 by submission. Anywhere this fight goes, this guy is capable of finishing the fight. And another thing, stylistically, that makes this fight fun, Blachowicz is a former Muay Thai world champion, and Adesanya is a former kickboxer. So stylistically, this fight couldn't be any more fun. And it's one of those fights where Adesanya is this rising star, undefeated. If he wins, he just continues his rise to superstardom. Blachowicz, this is almost like his coming out party. If he stops Israel and wins this fight, people will be talking about him on Sunday.
And of course, Israel's your 185 champion. He's moving up to 205, and who knows if he's even going to crack that. We'll find out really soon. But do you think Israel is being a bit overambitious by jumping up to heavyweight at this stage of his career? Or do you think his power will carry over and he'll equally be a problem as a multi-division champion and fighter for you?
He was 75-4 as a kickboxer, okay? He's 20-0 as a mixed martial artist in the UFC, the toughest place in the world to fight. This dude can fight. So he's 30 years old. It's now or never, man. This guy's making a move. What I love about this kid, he doesn't want to be the middleweight champion. He doesn't want to be the light heavyweight champion. He wants to be one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's talking about, after beating Blachowicz, moving up to heavyweight and fighting Jon Jones, who's looked at as the GOAT. One of the things that you have to love about Israel Adesanya is this dude continues to test himself. He wants to be known as the greatest, and guys like him are what make this exciting.
Dana, I know you're a betting man, and with the great news that you had today with DraftKings for the company, would you put money down that Israel Adesanya-Jon Jones fight is going to happen?
It's going to depend on what happens this Saturday night. And this Saturday night is obviously the key to the whole thing. Jon Jones is the former longtime light heavyweight champion, and Blachowicz is no joke. So if Adesanya can come in and beat Blachowicz, there's a pretty good chance you're going to see him and Jon Jones.
Do you think Israel has the makings to be the best MMA fighter of all time? If he continues on this course, if he ends up being undefeated, like
75-4 as a kickboxer, 20-0 here. He's already one of the greatest fighters ever. I mean, look at what the guy has accomplished and what he's done. And if he can continue to make the moves and do the things that he plans on doing, he absolutely will be.
Speaking of greats, let's talk about the greatest women's fighter of all time. I know Amanda Nunes right now is steamrolling through the competition. Her last 2 fights went the distance in the full 5 rounds. As we all know, you don't get paid by the minute in the fight game. Do you think she needs a stoppage over Megan Anderson to further add to her mystique at this point?
Her last fight that went to a decision was against Germaine de Randamie, who is one of the greatest female kickboxers, if not the greatest of all time. So, I mean, you have to look, when you say, oh, she went to a decision, you got to look at who she fought and what the situation was. She is by far and away the greatest female fighter in combat sports history. And, simultaneously defending 2 titles at the same time, 35 and 45, which is almost impossible to do. And she's going in against Megan Anderson, which she's a huge favorite. But let's not forget, the female division is very exciting. You have tons of real technical women, fast-paced fights, in your face, nonstop. Very few women can knock other women unconscious. Most women don't have that kind of power. Both of these women do. Megan Anderson has 6 wins by knockout, 3 by submission. So she has that power. This is a very dangerous fight for both of them. I see one of these women getting KO'd in this fight, and everybody's overlooking Megan Anderson, which is crazy. It's like 2 big heavyweights with knockout punching power. You never know what's going to happen. That's what you have in this fight here.
And speaking with great punching power, Petr Yan, who is coming off back-to-back KO wins over two of the sport's favorite yet faded fighters in Uriah Faber and Jose Aldo. Does a win over Aljamain Sterling prove he's the real deal, or will it be too soon to coronate him at that point?
100%, you're correct. I mean, as awesome as Petr Yan has looked and the things that he's done, look at how good Aljamain Sterling has looked in his last few fights. I think that Aljamain Sterling has finally come into his own. This kid has completely grown up, mentally, physically, emotionally, and as a professional fighter. This is the perfect fight at the right time, the right place between two studs in their prime.